All right, peace and blessings, family. I just wanted to come on the live, and I've been working on a lot of new shows for the network, and I'm pleased the way things are going. But I want to take some time this evening and just kind of come and just say that it's okay to have a different thought. I feel like for some of us, we need to hear that it's okay to have a different thought. Like it's really, really okay to say things differently, to it's okay. It's okay to think, it's okay to disagree. Um it's okay. It's okay to think. Thinking don't always mean that you're going to agree with people. Um I've been getting a lot of videos and people sending me articles about a guy, Kanye West, and I'm always getting stuff on Candace Owens and the people on that because I listen to everybody's stuff. I'm not a Democrat, but I'm not a Republican. I don't vote party lines. I vote on the person and what I know of their record. I'm a record person, so I don't vote my emotions. I don't vote like for I don't vote because maybe I don't like something that the person said. That don't really mean nothing to me at all. Um, and I think that is something that I just, as I study and learn about my history and even inside of my own culture, one of the things, and I'm putting this up here, I'm gonna start off with this, and I think some of us, not all of us, some of us have totally checked out of black folks in the madness. Like some of us are like, I'm not dealing with Negroes. I mean, that's on that stuff. You know what I mean? And I don't mean things that you smoke or snort up your nose. I mean just the madness in us agreeing to give all our alliances to one party. Some people are not down with that at all. I think that when I really think about Kanye West and some of the things that he do, I think I always kind of sit back and I watch how people react to him because usually people that get all up in rah rah about Kanye West are usually the same people who don't address the violence that we have in our own communities, that don't address that every 5.5 hours a black woman or girl is murdered by a black man or boy, who don't address a lot of the issues that we have in our own communities. And I think also these people do this fake we together blackness. And then when people step out of the box that you think black people are supposed to be in, then all of a sudden they become our enemy. But we have some real enemies that we just don't even want to see. And I really don't understand that. Like I don't know Candace Owens. I don't know Kanye. I mean, of course I don't know Kanye West, but I feel like I don't know why we expect people to um, believe or stand or give their alliances to a party or an idea, and and then we talk about all the things we don't like about the person. But if somebody was to track check your record, and I'm pretty sure you have extra income and some other things. I don't know if you've been doing anything with your money. I seen this and it didn't even matter to me. Like, because the truth of the matter, white lives do matter. We in the black community, a lot of us, we talk about when you get pulled over by a police, as opposed to when we get pulled. We know that this is probably a real ass statement. Will I wear a shirt like this? No, because I'm not into that. I don't wear Black Lives Matter t-shirts, even though I think Black Life Matter to me. I don't think it matters in the black community because we have a lot of things going on and we refuse to address it because it's more like we like to, just because somebody speaks the truth about their community don't mean that they don't love their community. I think we speak those truths because we do love our community. You know, my whole life I've worked for black folks and worked on our behalf and worked with our girls and worked with our moms and our babies and worked to try to bring us together, celebrate us along the way. But I also think that we have a lot of things wrong in our community that we probably should be addressing. I don't think it's up to people like Kanye West. I don't think it's up to people like Candace Owens. I don't even know Candace Owens, to be honest with you. I don't know her. I never expect for someone like that to solve my problems. I don't think rappers are the answer to my problems. You know what I mean? I um I don't have a problem with black Republicans. I don't really give a damn about black Republicans. I don't even know these people. So like I see a lot of people post things. Good evening, sis. I see a lot of people post things about these black Republicans. Herschel Walk. I just know him because he was a football player. See, I don't even know his politics. This sister right here, I think she's running for mayor of some city. I think she lost, but she ran. But I heard people say such ugly things because she was a Republican. And I thought to myself, well, damn. Excuse me. We've been having black Democrats forever, and I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I'm gonna be flat out honest with y'all, and I'm not a fan of any of these people. I don't even know none of these people. I just keep it all the way solid. I don't know them, but I'm gonna tell you. I'll be honest with you. When I see black Democrats, I cringe because I feel like they never deliver anything to black people. Whatever they're delivering to us, it really is for everyone else, and very few of us could ever work the system. This is just me. So when I vote, and if you're a Democrat black person, you must really be good. I must really know you and know your track record. But you just don't get my vote because you black and you Democrat. Like I'm probably not gonna vote for you because you are black and a Democrat. Because I know when we join these parties, whether if it's the Republican Party, whether it's the Democrat Party, eh, you know, both of them don't really do nothing for black folks. And I don't know why we act like, I think black folks should be just about tired of black Democrats. I'm not gonna lie to you. Like I think we should, I don't think we ever relied on Republicans, at least I can remember. But I do know that we also rely a lot on these people here. These are black Democrats. And they get there and they're usually fighting in some kind of illusionary fight, like how that's going to help us. And they'll get up in there and talk all day long and talk about policy. And they help to keep us in poverty, keep us begging government to do something. What I know is that right out of slavery, and this is the stuff, that's why we gotta know our history. You gotta know your history. You can't let people just act like the past doesn't matter. It absolutely does matter. Right out of slavery, black folks, there were over 60 black towns throughout the United States. 60, 60. And these were black folks who pulled themselves together and got some things done. You know, they were trying to make their way. Did they have all of these so-called federal protections that we supposedly have now? No. And they were able to build 60 black towns. 60, y'all. And so when I see all these black Democrats, I'm like, why do we even have y'all? I would rather I would rather trust somebody who I know is not going to do nothing for me, that I'm gonna have to do it for myself, than to trust a black Democrat or a black politician, period. Now, mind you, there may be a couple of good ones, but that's like finding a needle in a haystack. We have a lot of black people who look well, who dress up to look like how Europeans are looking, and I are professional, but they ain't delivering nothing to black folks. Nothing. And then we have these are the same people who and I'm showing these Democrats, and some of them are so old, they probably shouldn't even be in the office. Like they never give the next generation a chance. That's the other thing. They never like try to, and I don't even know if the next generation wanna be in that position because one of my friends said we're the type of people, some of us we'll complain about the cops beating us down, and then we'll say, "We need to police ourselves. We need to be the police. Like we need to be in these forces." And then we join those fraternities, um, and then we beat black people down. So it's kind of like, huh? Like, can we ever get this right? I'm not sure if we can, to be very honest with you, but I think with these black Democrats, not too much. They really can't say too much or nothing. The other thing I got a lot of this evening, like people sending me all these videos about what is happening in the Los Angeles City Council with the Latino woman, and I guess it was a couple of Latino women and men saying some very derogatory things about African Americans, or a black person rather, and using the term monkey. And I tell you, I have traveled all over Latin America, and none of this stuff shocks me, honestly. None of it shocks me. I think what gets on my nerves is when black people start talking about we don't have no friends. Like if we ever had friends in the first place, I feel like because we have our own anti-blackness. Every time I look at black television and black movies, I don't see nobody that's chocolate or dark brown or pitch black. I see everybody who looks like this woman right here. And then we got the audacity to be mad when somebody says things about us that we say about ourselves in our music, in our language, in our television shows. You know, we are so derogatory to each other in these shows. It's called comedy or these are soap operas. You know, we got Medea, no disrespect. I love Tyler Perry. Go on, brother, do what you got to do. But I'm just saying, when we look at our own imagery, I find that to be just kind of funny how we be so offended, with this Latina lady for making the statement that she make. I mean, they make a lot of statements because I've been all over Latin America, you know. And so when they do this thing here, we are just Puerto Rican, we are just, Mexican, and you can't be, that your country, just like here, had slavery and had Africans, but y'all don't even want to claim that part of yourselves. You know what I mean? So I just find it to be funny, you know what I mean? That we will be so quick to be really mad at the Latinos. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't be mad, but I just hope as we're pointing at her, being upset with her and the rest of the Latino city council, I hope they all resign. Um, but I also know that we do this too in our own culture, you know. We do this too. As a black person, I feel appalled when people are mad about the Woman King that they never seen. They didn't even go see the movie because we love to talk about things we haven't seen. We love to talk about things that we don't even know. You know what I mean? But you know, part of it is maybe everybody in the movie was too dark skinned because usually when black people do movies, they don't show dark skinned people, people who are really, really black. I also find that sometimes a lot of us switch sides because sometimes in that black party, there's not room for people who are really black. Like you have to be mixed with something and you have to be light skinned or what y'all like to say fair. And y'all use the term, but you don't even understand where that term even comes from and how much power we give people when we say that term fair. You know what I mean? So I don't know. I see all of this stuff and I just think to myself, like, wow, we are really upset at this Latino woman. But I mean, there's been a lot of different things happening to Black people at the hands of Latinos. I will say this because I have Latino friends I work with that I really like, I love, or whatever. But I also know more than enough Black people have constantly opened the door for all of these groups, all of them, Asians, Hispanics, you name it. But they have never really opened the door for us. They have just walked on our backs, walked on our heads, and never once said, let me make sure Black people get what they need because we are here on their benefit. We get to do all of this stuff because of what happened to them, because y'all wasn't enslaved in this country at all. Y'all chose to come here. You could have went back home to your country, and maybe you are, and build your country up, but you had to come to America to do it. And I really believe that part of being successful in America is that you really do almost have to look down on a permanent class, what happens to be Black people. That's why I don't use the term of color. I never say it. There is no of color. We're not all in the same boat. We really are not. I'm black, so I take African American. I'm okay with that term too, but for the most part, I am black. I'm not brown. I'm not indigenous. I'm none of that stuff. Black is the original, so I'm okay with that term. I see people want to act like, well, your skin's a little girl. Give me a break. I'm not passing for nothing but a black woman. Don't get it twisted. But when we have these kind of situations, we kind of get in our feelings, but we know that this exists. We know this. We know that these people are white people, that they're Europeans, that they're Spaniards. What do you think Spaniards are? You know what I mean? What do you really think they are? How many of y'all have ever been in Mexico? I've been to places in Mexico where the people were descendants of and people who were formerly enslaved in Mexico. And they talked about how they could not say they were Afro Mexicans. And they was blacker than me. You know what I mean? So we got to revisit this. We can't do this. I don't believe in black and brown unity. I think we can respect each other, but I don't do fake taglines because I know who's been helping who. And I know who's opened the door for other people and who has not, who has helped uphold white supremacy by keeping us down. So I understand what this is about. And we don't get to act like I'm a victim, like you didn't have to do it. Because black people have been making sacrifices in this country for as long as I can remember. And so she gets to be city council not because she really earned it. She get to be city council because Los Angeles is heavily Latino. You know, black people are some of the people who will kind of, some of us will vote because we think you're qualified, you know, and then some of us will vote for you because you're a Democrat, but you ain't gonna really give a shit. You know what I mean? So anyway, so I haven't even talked to some of the people that I do know that may know this woman who lives in Los Angeles because I don't know if black people have enough sense of power to really do what they need to do. Like I really think black folks should maybe think about homeschooling their kids if they have enough courage to do it. You know, you really don't have to take abuse from people. You know, you really could just homeschool your own children. You really could do that. But what I will say as I leave out on this note, because I believe like you got to share the stories of people doing something outside of the box. And I wanted to share this story with y'all before I go and to leave you on like more of a happy note that we are out in the world doing some things. And I seen this, a brother shared this with me from Baltimore. And I think this is the kind of stuff. Hold on, let me get this right before I share this to y'all. I want to make sure I'm getting the sound right up on here. This sister in Baltimore and her church, I believe it's her church, is doing this. Here we go. I want to make sure the audio was right. And yeah, and it is right. And I want y'all to see this.
If you push it all the way back, like so, it is a seat.
Quita Chansey is building tiny homes for Baltimore's homeless. When finished, these 6x4x4 lumber wood micro homes would have shelves and seating that can be converted into a bed and come equipped with a waterproof sleeping bag and an LED charger.
It's just a little block on the inside.
Chansey founded Smaltimore Homes in February of 2018 because of her passion to help the homeless. She hopes to one day quit her job in IT and build tiny homes full time.
So many people that are experiencing homelessness look exactly like us. And because of the stigma, it's not something that's discussed. They are by themselves or feeling, like it's not something that people will accept. So I want to change that.
This time-lapse video shows a team of volunteers building a home from start to finish in about 12 hours. Right now, the organization has 2 complete models, but thanks to donations and a grant, there's funding for almost a dozen more. Mark King is a volunteer with Smaltimore Home.
This is completely brand new to me, but it feels really good. I think at our innately at our core, we are all very humanitarianistic, and this is a very good cause, and I felt compelled to be a part of it.
But although Chansey has seen an outpouring of support, Baltimore is not zoned for this kind of housing. That's why she's in the beginning stages, working with the Baltimore Planning Academy to get that changed and finding a place for them to go.
Ideally, if we could dismantle or deconstruct those homes that are blighted, we can reuse the materials that are salvageable and build small shelters like this. And once those homes are removed and deconstructed, we can rebuild on those plots of land.
The tiny homes could come in handy because according to the organization, every year some 30,000 people receive homeless services in this city. It's a labor of love she hopes will change Baltimore for the better. For more information, you can find a link in the WBAL TV app and WBALTV.com. Theo Hayes, WBAL TV 11 News.
All right, family. So as you can see, that was a quick little short. I wanted to show that clip because I feel like even though we have all of this stuff happening right now with the Democrats and Republicans and Kanye West and you name it, the Latino, some of the Latino city council members in Los Angeles, and we have like, I mean, there's a lot of things going on. In the midst of all the chaos, there are still people out there in the world trying to find solutions to real problems. I know that half of the homeless in Sacramento are Black women with children. So it's kind of like when I see these kind of stories, I'm like, wow, is that something we could do in Sacramento? I know our mayor is working, trying to make sure we could house the homeless, but I just feel like, you know, we got a lot of battles on a lot of different fronts in our community. We have a lot, and I feel like we have to be able to sit down and talk about what is best for us as a community. Um, I think we have to have some different ideas. I'm always interested in sitting down with people who are Democrats and Republicans and independent and people who ain't in no party to see what solutions, what ideals they have that maybe we need to think about. I also believe that we need to know more of our own history so that we can come up with some solutions that we thought about. You know what I'm saying? Like I feel like I don't know Kanye. Some of the stuff he says I understand. And to be honest with you, I kind of agree because I understand some of the things he say be way out on the limb. Same thing with Candace Owens. Sometimes she'd say things I understand and agree with. Some things I'd be like, yeah, Candace, you missed me with that one. But I feel like, even with the black people who are on the Democrat side or the woke people, whoever they are, sometimes they say things I agree with, and sometimes they say things I'll be like, that's dead ass wrong. Like that's not how that went down. I just feel like we have to be able to talk these things out. We have to be able to listen to each other. It don't mean we're going to agree. Let's just be honest. Unity don't mean that we agree. Unity don't mean we gonna all be on the same page. There's never everyone. People are all over the damn book. That's what it means to be a human being. But I feel like we have to see where we do fit in or where we can agree on or what we can agree on. I don't know about you all, but I come from a people that, if something wasn't going right, they started their own school, they did their own daycare, they pooled their resources together in an understanding, but there also was a love there. And I don't think you can make people love you. I don't think you can make people respect you, but I do know that when black folks or those of us who identify and who see that there's worth in each other, when we pull each other together, we pull our resources, there's not nothing we can't do. And I think we know that, but I also think in the black community, we do have a lot of pimps, we have a lot of abusers, we have a lot of predators, and they're in the midst. And sometimes we be really wanting to protect them, and then the sheep doesn't have any protection at all. And so I think one of the things that Kanye West has done for me, and I'll be very honest, is that I like the fact that he tugs at people with making statements that seem so outlandish. But shouldn't we be talking about these things anyway? Because some of our kids don't even know what slavery was even about. Even though they may say the teacher is racist, they don't even know really what that is. You know what I mean? Like we have not done well in explaining to our children. There's a clip by Maya Angelou. Let me find this clip really quick. There's a clip, and sometimes I see people post this clip, and sometimes they'll say, well, they think Maya Angelou was rough on the little sister. But for me, because I come from that culture, let me just say that. I literally come from that culture. And when she was talking, I can't tell you how many times elders have checked me and I wasn't offended by it because you know what? She said something because y'all always just show the clip of her like kind of chopping a little sister down. But what you don't get to see is Maya Angelou explaining. And I'm gonna find this clip really quick. I'm gonna show that before I think this person sent because people send me stuff all the time. But this little clip, hold on, I'm gonna get this clip. When this sister sent me this clip, I thought it was there it is. I thought it was a great clip. Here, I'm gonna pull it up. Hold on, y'all. Give me just a minute. I just found it. Hold on. I'm gonna try to make it big. Hold on. Let me see if I can share. Oops, I done messed up, y'all. Hold on. Let me get myself right. Okay, hold on. Because I feel like sometimes I would always hear older people basically say that sometimes in black culture, we really shoot ourselves in the foot sometimes by trying to adapt to other people's culture and not our own. You know what I mean? Let me share this clip, y'all. Hold on. Hold on with me, y'all. I'm doing all this myself because I'm trying to have some skill set in my life. No, hold on. Let me see if I got this right. Is it here? No, is it here? There it is. Let me make sure the sound is right. Okay, so this piece here, hold on, y'all. I'm gonna back it up. If I could back it up, let me just hit that like that. Okay, y'all, hold on.
Her views on interracial relationships.
Oh, thank you. And first, I'm Miss Angelo.
Miss
Yes,
Angela.
ma'am. I'm not Maya. I'm 62 years old. I have lived so long and tried so hard that a young woman like you or any other you have no license to come up to me and call me by my first name. That's first. That's first. Also, because
So hold on, y'all. Let me just say this. So because I'm a pause it. So people seen that first. I just seen that clip of it, and people saying, "Oh, I thought she was rough on the system." Blah 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 blah. But as I was growing up, when elders talk to you and they use a certain tone, for me, I wasn't offended by it. It made me stand straight up, and that meant that I needed to hear. I needed to hear that. But I want y'all to hear the other part she says when somebody else gets up almost like on a cosign. So hold on, let me get back to this.
at the same time, I am your mother, I'm your auntie, I'm your teacher, I'm your professor. You see?
You just told her that she should call you Ms. Angelo.
Miss Angelo, Dr. Angelo,
Dr.
Professor
Angelo.
Angelo, auntie.
Is that part of the problem in this culture that we have? There's not enough discipline. There's not enough respect.
Yes.
There is, pardon me? What? Hold on, Senator. Stand.
I'm from
What's
North
this?
Carolina, and I'm so happy that you went back there
Thank you.
because it is a peaceful place. I've been out here in California about 8 years, and there is no respect.
Well, all right, sister, I agree. I only
Now
think
listen,
that the
listen,
children know only what we teach them.
right on.
If there is something wrong in the generations, which last two generations, which did not carry on the tradition, and I think this is true not just in the Black community, this is true in the white community, in all the communities. We have not taken the children to our knees and told them the truth. Darling, here's the way it is. You live in direct relation to the poets, the heroes, and the sheroes you have. Always honor the elders. Oh, then you honor yourself. Honor women. You honor yourself. Honor men. You honor yourselves. Watch your mouth. Watch what you say to another human being. Don't be so ready to be rude. You have to teach the children that people don't jump up out of cribs, baby cribs, and know that. So somebody has not done the right thing. That's all I'm saying.
Right on. So family, listen. So people will show that clip, but they don't show that part of the clip. They don't show her explaining it. It's like, oh, she seemed like she was so rude to that little sister. But what she was doing is that she was giving her instruction. And when I was growing up, most definitely I never called an elder by their first name. Even when I came to California, this is a true story. I would meet elders and I would try to, I would say, well, Miss So and so and Miss Kim. And they'd be like, girl, don't call me Miss Kim. That made me feel like I'm old. And I was always taught the response to tell them, it is a part of my culture. I'm showing you respect. And usually people go like, oh, and they'll back up like, okay. So it's kind of like, I feel like that's that part is really missing in our culture. And so sometimes when you're seeing, and I'm gonna be honest with y'all, because I work with a lot of young people and they watch a lot of drink champs and they watch the Bad Girls Club and the Real Housewives, and so you don't see any of that in those shows. Any of that, and so when I talk with them, I always say, "Do you know that everybody in our country is looking at? They think that is Black culture." Or every time I have also a lot of girls who are in my programs, and some of them are mixed. So they may have like a parent that is white or other, they're not Black, but then one of their parents is Black. And sometimes there'll always be a girl who is fully Black that will say, well, that ain't Black culture because your mom is kind of whitewashed. And I'm like, what makes her whitewashed? Because what you're saying is Black culture, it really isn't Black culture. That's struggling culture. That's something that came out of hip hop culture. That's not what we do in my house. My mama didn't do that. You know what I'm saying? So I feel like, and then a lot of them couldn't even tell you what part of the South they people are from, or the part of the East, or even the Midwest. They don't even know that. So I feel like we got a lot of work to do in our communities. We got a lot of work to do, family. because our children, like, sometimes they'll talk about their teachers being racist, and some of the examples they give, it don't be racism sometimes. And I'll be like, well, why didn't you just do your work? You know what I'm saying? Like, we got to do a better job of explaining to them what our history is, what their history is, because if they don't know it, there's no way they're going to be able to really combat it. Like, honestly, you know, they're not going to really understand it. And they have to also see more self-love with us. You know what I'm saying? Like, that competition, those reality TV shows almost always shows us in competition. And then when I'm working with the girls in school, that's their biggest struggle. That's their biggest struggle that they really struggle with is competition. That's their biggest struggle. So when I'm having to do, like, I hate the word restorative justice. I mean, I do a lot of work in that area, but I think sometimes people are always trying to come up with these dress up words to just, like, apologize or admit that you were wrong. But we just let people come up with all kind of just bullshit. Just, if you're racist, you're racist. You don't get to say, well, I'm not racist. I'm just, no, that's racist what you did, but we're in the system. Just call it what it is. I think we allow people to dress up our struggle or what they do to us. Don't dress it up, dress it up. Use the very basic terms so you be clear. No disrespect, but when Kanye did that little tweet about the Jewish people, they didn't dress it up when they came for Kanye. They went right for anti-Semitic. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm just giving you an example. They don't dress up their pain. They just go straight to it. We like to dress up. Well, this person can't really be racist. We dress it up. Like, you don't dress up your ancestors' struggle. You don't dress that up. You go for it. So I just, wanted to just come on tonight and just kind of just say, Black folks, I want to know what you think. I want to know what you really, really think. I think this thing that happened in LA at the city council meeting, I think I don't even know if I hear, and I don't want to hear the Black people who have political fires or political aspirations, or they have some kind of stake in the political game. I don't want to hear from them. No disrespect. I don't want to hear from no Black city councilman or Black senator, or I don't want to hear from none of them. I want to hear from the people who are in the street, who have families, who are teachers, who are involved in our community. Excuse me. We need to hear what you think. I don't know about y'all, but when I was growing up, there was a show called Our Voices. I love Bev Smith. I so miss her because I used to love watching Our Voices. And one of the things I really miss about Our Voices is that Bev Smith will bring in different Black folks, people from the, our community that has some sense, and just regular everyday people. And they would sit and they would talk about the things that were happening in our community. And I'm not gonna lie to y'all, that it really educated me. I'm not gonna lie at all. I was so grateful to have Our Voices, because sometimes when I go back and watch Our Voices with Bev Smith, um, they're still talking about things that's impacting us right now. And you'd be thinking, wow, damn, this is something that they discussed uh um like years ago. And it's the same. We're having the same discussions right now today. Let me just show y'all what this look like. Let me just this one, to me, this was like the golden age of BET, because it used to come on BET. Let me just show y'all this real quick, because you can go back and watch the reruns, y'all. Let me just get y'all squared away here. Hold on. Let me take it off of the. Oops, hold on, y'all. Give me a minute. I'm gonna back this up. I just want y'all to see this.
Get the most out of Black people is to teach them what it is to be Black, to teach them the value of being Black, to teach them their history, to teach them that they are the offspring of the founders of civilization, all the arts and sciences, that even in America, in spite of oppression, in spite of slavery and disenfranchisement, we produce America's industry, the agriculture industry, farming, the whole works. We are a very ingenious, creative people, but in order for us to tap that creative ingenuity, that genetic creative ingenuity, we have to know our history and heritage. We have to know the way of our people. And all too often, the children of today have no concept of not only ancient history, but recent history. That's true. And that's our responsibility, no matter what's going on outside our community.
It's not just our fault. I really have to play the devil's advocate there. Where I agree 100% with what Ronald says, 1,000% in terms of what he says. There were forces outside of us, okay, that is causing some of what's manifesting right now. Let me just give you a couple of quick examples. I read a book quite a long time ago. I'm sure many of you are familiar with it, called The Godfather. And in that book, it stated, when all the dons or whatever they're called were sitting around the table dealing with how they were going to deal with the country and all, the drugs, they said, the drug traffic, it was just coming up. They said, what I'm going to do, and this is one of the Godfathers talking, is to keep the traffic limited to the black communities, to give it to the coloreds. We're not going to give it to our youth.
No, they said nigger in the film.
And they said right.
The heroin would go to Harlem where the niggers are,
right,
because that's what they want.
Their souls, well, maybe it did say that's what they want, but it said let them lose their souls with drugs. And it was right after that. True, The Godfather is arguably fiction, but what has happened within the last 20 years,
The Godfather was fiction.
This is in the
Are
90s,
you
y'all.
suggesting that even though it was fiction, there is some element of truth?
No question. And I just want to put out another fact here. Around the same period of time was the period of time in which the Federal Bureau of Investigation, under its then director, J. Edgar Hoover, had a program. And that program specifically said that it was going to expose, misdirect, discredit, disrupt, and otherwise neutralize the activities of black nationalist groupings and leadership and their spokesmen and membership and their supporters, and it went on. But what was very interesting about that program that was directed against our people is that it said a final goal of that program was to stop the long-range growth of these organizations, or black pride and black histories, especially among the youth. And the FBI, that memorandum specifically stated that specific tactics would be developed to stop these things.
Okay, but you hear what you're saying to me, though. You're absolutely right. But Hoover had not only a list for those, he had a list for Jewish publishers and printers. He had a list for white young college students. Here's what I'd like to dwell on. What is our responsibility? Because even at a time when books were not as prevalent as they are now, some older person in the community said to you, you are somebody. You got it through your church. Some black school teacher told you. I mean, when are we going to look at our own responsibility for telling each other what we're about, and not look to the white man to tell us what we need for ourselves?
I think some groups are doing this, and you do hit on a very important point, that we're talking about the socialization of young people. And I feel that in the 60s, that's when some of our institutions began to, as Haki was trying to say, the integration just diverted us from some of our own institution building. And we're beginning to realize now that had we maintained some of those institutions that have carried us from slavery and through all of the hardships that we have endured, that things would be different today. But our institutions are failing our young people, and not just the so-called white institutions, but also our black institutions, our churches, and of course the family, the whole disunification, the school system. We have to do something to replace this socialization process.
The question that I'm going to keep asking is why? Why? I have to take a call. The little man in my ear just told me, please go to the phones, but I've got to come back to why? The threat against Africans who are here in America has always been there. I said during the break, forget this idea of eliminating racism. It is always going to be at the core, because it's economic. Racism is economic. And so it's always going to be there. But what about our responsibility to ourselves? I think that's what we need. If you can't define that
responsibility, then you won't act responsible.
But our responsibility is to teach and educate our youth, to teach and educate each other. And that's happening. There are book discussion groups that are springing up all across the country. There's a movement toward African-centric curriculum and educational institutions. That is the key to turning our situation around. Like you say, racism is going to always be there.
Always.
Once we come together, once we learn to respect ourselves and each other, there is nothing, no force in this country or this world that can stop
Let's go to
our
the phone.
ascension.
Good evening. Thank you for being out there.
Okay,
Thank you for
family.
joining us. Give me your first
All
name
right,
and
family,
where
hold
you're
on. Okay, family. So that's our voices. You could also see that on YouTube. They had everybody on their show. For me, growing up, that was how I was able to hear what we thought. Like, you know what I mean? I could hear from a black economist. I could hear from black school teachers. I could hear from the everyday sister. Like, you know, Bev had everybody on the show. Even with the history of music in this country, I've seen a lot of people on the show, jazz musician, rap artists. Like, they could also tell you, like, you get to listen to why they wrote what they wrote or perform what they performed. So I feel like we have to get back to having some of these conversations with each other so we can figure out what are we going to do. Because I think what happened in LA and the person being exposed because somebody taped the conversation, we know in our community these things happen, but what are we going to do to combat it? What are we going to do to combat it? And how? Because we have all these elections coming up, like we have all of these all of these things on the ballot, like to vote on. Um, some of them, I think I may just vote yes all the way down. And some people say, no, you should vote no on some things. I don't know. I mean, I'm researching all of it, but I feel like there was a time where black folks can tell you why you should vote no or why you should vote yes. We just say, well, the Democrats are endorsing it, so we should vote no. Because they said, no, I want to know why. I don't want to vote because your Democratic friends tell me to vote that way. I don't even know these fools. I don't know if this is something that wouldn't be good for me. You know, I don't. We have a gaming thing on there. I don't really care about gaming because I don't get none of that money. So I don't care who gets to gamble on their phone. I don't care about none of that. So you know what I mean. So unless you give me a good reason, you know what I mean. So I feel like sometimes we don't get to hear why that is. You know, and also black people are very diverse because some black people they don't. Every black person is not wanting to let everybody out of prison. Some of us don't want to see those people out of prison. You know, all of us are not, we're not together like that. We're just not. Some of us want people to be locked up and the key to be thrown away because they were bad people. You know, some of us don't think they can be reformed. So being black is not a monolith. We don't always agree. And just because your son is locked up don't mean that, you know, that's a harm for me. That's a harm for you because that's a child that you produced. That maybe there was some signs there that you as a parent didn't want to recognize. See, that's those hard kind of conversations. And to be honest with you, that's part of what Maya Angelou was talking about in the clip that I showed y'all. Because some people was out here defending their kid when they knew their kid was wrong. You know, there was a time when if you was to sell drugs, your own mama would turn you in because she knew that wasn't cool that you'd be selling this kind of poison in their neighborhood. She knew that. But now people be up here defending their kid and their kid be wrong. You know, I work in a lot of schools and some of them are like continuation schools and the parent be up there trying to fight the kids and then get mad when they call the police because don't nobody want to be dealing with that. You know, we gotta, man, we just gotta do better. We just gotta do better because we'll be so quick to be mad. And Lord knows, I am not defending Kanye West, but I feel like we get this fool so much damn attention. If we could just take a half of that attention we gave Kanye for wearing that White Lives Matter shirt and turn that into something in our community that we think we could do something about. If we could just turn some of that into, you know, maybe volunteering at your kid's school, you know, maybe sitting down and reading a book with your kid every night for those of you who don't do it. If we could take some of that attention and take our kids to the park so they can run around and feel free. If we could just turn off that goddamn idiot box and stop watching, you know, all of these shows where people are drinking and fighting each other and stealing people's man and doing all these bad habits. No disrespect. If we could just turn Cardi B off. I like Lizzo. I mean, she cool and everything. But if we could just turn her off a little bit and really try to spend that time with your family and your children and give that attention, to so our kids could want to be doing science, so they could want to participate in science and mathematics, so they can really see the genius. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, he does it. He definitely, sister, does it for the attention because he knows. See, I will say this about Kanye West. He knows black people's buttons. He knows it. He knows it. You know what I'm saying? But I also, and I don't think he has mental health problems. I really don't. I think there are some black people who feel the way he feel, and they don't get to be, we don't get to say, well, they just hate themselves. No, this is who he really is. When a person walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, I'm gonna think they a duck. I'm good with that. We live in a society you can be whatever you want. If a man could be a woman, then a dude could be a duck. It's all good. You know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like I'm not giving him no. That's why I was like, okay, next. If we all ignore him, he would fade into the sunset. But right now he's all over Fox News, and we know. See, that's what I always tell people because I'm not I don't belong to any political party. I'm not a Democrat and I'm not a Republican. I'm independent, so I vote who I feel is appropriate for the job. But sometimes I agree with some of the stuff the Republican says, but I don't agree in the spirit in which they agree to it. Let me say that again. Let me say that one more time for the people in the back. Sometimes I agree with some of the things the Republicans, what they say in terms of certain bills, but I don't agree in the spirit. Because I think sometimes when black people backs get up against the wall, we will come up with a plan. And people are handing us stuff and throwing money at us and like, oh, I'm gonna give you money for your drug program, but they don't want to give you money to buy a house. I'm gonna give you money to keep you on welfare and to keep you in this low public housing. I'm not gonna give you the money to buy your house so you can have some equity. You know what I'm saying? I absolutely agree with you, sis. But I'm just saying there is something. So it's like, I think that we'll be voting for somebody because we think they may be black, and then the person will lock them more black people. Like how does that work? We just had a so-called black president who gave everybody something but black people, and told us that basically me being here is your reward. That's crazy, Mr. Obama. Even though I voted for you twice. But you didn't earmark nothing for us. And look here, I don't go to no black colleges. I don't do any of that stuff. So don't tell me about a scholarship. I'm gonna need some cash. I'm gonna need at least something I can buy a house or something with it. Like you owe us something directly because this whole system was built on the backs of black folks. There is no group in America, and I mean no, and I'm not even counting the Native Americans because at least they got casinos and stuff. So we're not even in the same boat with them. Everything in America was built on the backs of cheating black folks, whether it's the black codes, whether it was redlining. I could keep, redlining, whether it was the mass incarceration system that we got going on, whether it was the chain gang. I can just go on there, a convict leasing. Like we could just go on down the line. Even when you go into a bank, you're going to get a different rate than a white person. You can't even get your damn house appraised and be black because they're going to give you a lower rate than they would give somebody else. Y'all, you come on now. Don't play with me. And so, like, what do we do with the system? We had a damn black president, and he didn't earmark nothing because he really thought him being in there was our reward. I don't even know Obama. Don't know him. He's not a descendant from people who were enslaved. You know what I mean? They definitely don't want to give us land. Even when we buy houses, we know that black people get a different rate. We know this. 7 out of 10 homes in California is owned by an Asian American. 7 out of 10. Now, how much you think we own? That's why when I see a black politician, like, what do you really do except for walk around the halls all day in a nice suit and argue with people over shit that ain't got nothing to do with us? I'm kind of done on politicians. I'm done. I am done. They come ask me for something, I'll be like, I just don't feel like doing it. I don't want to be explaining to black people why we have a black person in office that don't do shit for black people. I don't want to do that. I just don't want to do it. It's exhausting. You know, we have the highest hypertension. We have the highest diabetes. We have more of us with kidney disease, heart disease. You name any disease, we probably got the shit more than any other group. We know being in America is toxic as hell. We know that. You got to fight for every goddamn thing you get. If you driving in your car and the cop pulls behind you, all your shit could be straight, but you still be sweating bullets. Don't play with me. We know this. So I just feel like we got to have a better plan. And for God's sake, teach your children. Because rappers are not, they're not heroes. This garbage, I'm just saying it straight up, a lot of this stuff is garbage in the hip hop music. It's like some of us will go ahead and smoke dope and shoot dope. Hell, hip hop music is dope. The shit they be playing out here, y'all. Come on. Let's just be honest. There was a time when you listen to music and it uplifts you. You know, I remember listening to Wake Up Everybody trying to teach a new day, you know. Come on, y'all. I remember that's the music I grew up on. I remember listening to hip hop, you know, when they talked about us being gods and us being the original people and you know how great we are. I don't ever remember listening to hip hop music be like bitch and motherfucker and nick. I don't remember. I never listened to stuff like that in hip hop music. Now we did have Two Live Crew, but who was playing that? I mean, like I mean, give me a break. It was only one or two groups like that. But now we got like 20 groups like that. And if anybody got a message, you know, like they're like, you know, like some kind of special diamond, like Kendrick Lamar. You know what I mean? When we know there's probably a lot of people writing music that's uplifting. Not the music. I'm talking about the depressing shit. Because I don't want to hear that at all. I like things that lift you up. You know, thank God I lived in the time of Karen Wheeler and Soul to Soul. I'm so grateful because that music fed me. You know what I mean? I'm so glad I lived in that time. I'm so glad because the stuff I listen to today, everything is a bitch got to be tight and blah 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 blah. That's right. That's right. Well, that's what's happened to LA and why black people are moving out of LA. You know what I mean? And we don't want to talk about that. And then we got the nerve to say we are of color. Who came up with that term? People, we're always trying to get away from being what we are. Because when they in there fighting, they ain't fighting for us. When they start speaking Spanish, they ain't trying to say, yeah, that other nigga over there. They didn't say none of that. They in there fighting for their stuff. Like, I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I think America is getting ready to explode. I think she's getting ready to explode. Because here is a country that will go to war with everybody and then bring their kids here and bring people from other countries here and put them ahead of the people who lived here and who built the country. So when I see Afghanis, it's like, how do they get benefits? When I'm here in America and I still ain't got my benefits. My peoples, we built this place. America is what it is because of slavery. Let's not get it twisted. America is what it is because you had redlining. America is what it is because y'all cheated people out their money. Y'all didn't give them equity. Y'all didn't, you know what I mean? You didn't want to sell them houses. You didn't want to pay them what they was worth. You know what I'm saying? People, do y'all know that when unemployment came, that they said if you were a domestic, if you worked in the service industry, you could not collect unemployment. So black people who were maids and carmen porters and stuff like that, they didn't get unemployment. Did y'all know that? Do y'all know that white people right out of slavery got reparations? The people who owned slaves got reparations from our government? Did y'all know that? So miss me with the vice president and the black president. They could right those wrongs. They could absolutely do it. If you could give the Japanese something for internment camps, if you can give everybody something for what y'all done to them, why can't you give stuff to black people? Why can't you? Why can't you? Why can't you? Huh. I tell you, family, y'all, we better get it right, y'all. I'm telling you, I feel like my message to black people is hold on to your families. Y'all better figure out how to buy a big house and live in that house together because it's about to get real tight out here. Gas is damn near $7. We know that there's going to be a food shortage. In case y'all don't know about this, food prices is going up. If you do not garden, you're going to be in trouble. If you don't remember the stuff Big Mama taught you, if you don't know how to cook no rice, if you don't know how to grow no tomatoes, you don't know how to boil no water, you don't know how to catch no rainwater, you're going to be in trouble. Don't be out here getting caught up. Don't get caught up in all the, black folks, we like to keep up with the Joneses, and the Joneses don't even live the way we think the Joneses live. Ain't that crazy? We better get it right. You know what I mean? Definitely a pot of beans. I'm gonna be honest with you, sis. I hate beans because we ate it all the time growing up, but I will eat beans. I ate beans in Cuba. I ate beans all over Latin America because they eat some beans. And they also have beans in Africa, and I had some over there too. But we have to know that. History is important, family. History is important. And when you let people make you think that history is not important, you are in for a rude awakening. Rude, 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 rude. American slavery was god awful. And don't let people tell you, that you're not African and stuff. I mean, I just sometimes just the disrespect is too much for me. It's just too much for me. It's just too much for me. I sometimes I just can't do it. It just be too much. Last thing, y'all, before I sign off of here, I'm gonna share this with y'all. I want to share. I love this brother right here. There is something about. I'll do this one. Okay, so we're gonna talk to Clint Smith real quick. I want to show y'all this pieces, and then I'm getting ready to hop off here and go to bed. Okay, so look, you could start by teaching your kids. There's something called Crash Course in History. I'm gonna show y'all this little piece right here. Hold on, let me make sure I got the right this little piece. I just feel like it's important for us to is this it right here? Yeah. Okay, let me just show y'all this little piece right here. Then I'm gonna jump my butt off for the night. Hold on. Let me go here. I don't know about y'all. I spend a lot of time like listening to a lot of I watch, but I also listen to a lot of videos. I really be doing my history, like studying and researching, and I just think it's super important to do it. Okay.
And this is Crash Course Black American History. Today, we're talking about slavery in the American colonies. In your high school U.S. history class, there's a decent chance you learned about mercantilism, a system in which home countries, or a mother country, in Western Europe, established extensions of themselves in far-off places around the world to produce highly sought-after raw materials. One of the basic concepts is that exports must always be greater than imports to make a profit. Simple enough. And as is the case with most businesses, one must consider how to maximize their profit. And one of the ways to do that is to minimize production costs. This is basic econ 101, right? For what it's worth, I never did too well in economics, but even I think I understand this. But how do you reduce production costs when those costs rely almost entirely on manual labor? Well, for the British colonists, the answer was just to have workers you didn't pay, which is to say, slavery. In high school, many of our history textbooks provide a broad, though not always deep overview of the role that slavery played in the early American economy. And they don't always make clear how slavery became a legally accepted practice in the first place, and how it contributed to the colony's early economic success. In the future United States, in what is now the state of South Carolina, a Spanish magistrate founded the colony of San Miguel de Guadalupe in 1526 with an unknown number of enslaved Africans. But the colony was a failure, though some historians suggest that the Africans fled to the Wale Indians to set up their own colony. Nearly a century later, 20 to 30 captured Africans, or 20 Negroes, as they were referred to, arrived at Point Comfort, Virginia in 1619. It is the arrival of this group that has come to represent the origins of chattel slavery in the United States, because they were the first to arrive to an English colony, a colony that would, a century and a half later, become the United States. These captives would become instrumental to the success of the Jamestown colony, which succeeded where previous colonies had failed. We might imagine the first group of African captives to be foreign to the New World, but they had already had significant contact with Europeans, particularly those from Spain and Portugal. They were part of a group historian Ira Berlin describes as Atlantic Creoles. They were versed in many languages, had some familiarity with Christianity, and sometimes even worked alongside white indentured servants. Europeans did attempt to utilize other sources of labor before turning to enslaved Africans. But the indentured servitude of European immigrants posed issues that prevented colonists from extracting long-term systemic labor from them. For one, European indentured servants could only legally be indentured for a contracted period of time, usually somewhere between 4 and 7 years. When their contracts expired, new indentured laborers had to be found and trained, which resulted in inconsistent levels of production. Secondly, well, European indentured servants were white, and Europeans, regardless of their origin, still viewed other Europeans as fully human. Some Europeans were reticent to discipline other Europeans with the same harsh punishment that Africans received. Historical evidence suggests that when mixed groups of Africans and European servants ran away, the Africans within the group would receive the harshest punishment. Settlers also attempted to enslave indigenous people, but this didn't really satisfy their labor needs. And while Europeans did not immediately give up on indigenous labor, ongoing conflicts with Native Americans made imported Africans a much more desirable source of labor. Slavery, however, had not yet been defined and codified by law. But that wouldn't last. The colonists would soon discover that in order to effectively govern this emerging society, uniform policies would have to be established in order to clearly demarcate the social and political hierarchy. Before any legislation had passed to solidify the parameters of slavery as an institution, there were some allowances that enslaved men and women experienced that would be unfathomable just 20 years down the line. Anthony Johnson, a man who lived in captivity and who eventually worked his way out of bondage, illustrates some of the possibilities for Black people in Jamestown, Virginia, before blanketed restrictions were placed on them. While Johnson's story is not representative for all free Black people in the region, it is helpful in understanding the process by which slavery evolved into something more concrete. Let's go to the thought bubble. Only a year after his arrival in 1621, Antonio, who later anglicized his name, experienced one of the many bloody conflicts between indigenous communities and colonists. That year, the Powhatan launched an attack on the Bennett family plantation. Antonio was owned by the Bennetts and was one of the few survivors of the attack. He was later commended for his hard labor and known service. The Bennetts then granted Antonio, who would change his name to Anthony Johnson, permission to farm independently on his own land, even though he was still enslaved. He was also allowed to get married, which he did, to a woman named Mary, and to baptize their children. Eventually, Johnson and his family became free, though it's unclear exactly how, which reflects the scarcity of documentation that plagues scholars of early African American history. Records show that Johnson's land holdings and property were recognized as legitimate by the local government, and after he lost much of his home in a fire, the county court forgave his taxes. He even defended his ownership of an enslaved African in court, stating that the African, John Casser, was not an indentured servant. Casser alleged that Johnson had violated an indenture contract between the two, but Johnson claimed that he actually purchased Casser as an enslaved worker. Thanks, Thought Bubble. Sometimes Johnson's story can be used in bad faith to say, hey, look, there were Black slaveholders too. And people do this in an attempt to portray slavery as something that both races participated in and were equally culpable in. But those claims ignore the nuances of how the very notion of slavery changed and evolved over time. This point is significant because in the coming years, even the right to speak in court would be stripped from enslaved persons. Johnson himself exemplified the shift between race and enslavement as a social status. According to scholar Henry Louis Gates, following Johnson's death, a court ruled that he was, quote, a Negro and by consequence, an alien. Subsequently, his family's land was seized and his descendants faded from the historical record. Between 1640 and 1660, the rules around who could or could not be enslaved became more formalized in the legal system. The John Punch case, one of the most significant during this period, illustrates how courts would begin to differentiate between the two. In 1640, 3 indentured servants, 2 white and 1 Black, all fed up with brutal abuse, escaped from Hugh Gwynn's plantation. But once they reached Maryland, they were caught, and they were made to stand trial in court. The Dutchman and the Scot received 30 lashes, an additional year indentured to Gwynn, and 3 additional years of manual labor in service to the colony. But John Punch, the only African, he was sentenced to serve for the rest of his life as a laborer. Following the John Punch case, planters in Virginia enacted measures that would expressly establish the connection between race and social status. These ideas would help shape future generations of slavery in the United States. The new laws only further cemented the subordinate status of Black people. In 1662, the Virginia General Assembly adopted the rule of partis sequitur ventrum. The rule stated that the mother's race would determine the child's slave or free status. This policy would ensure that there would be no question of the status of Black women's children, even if the father happened to be white. Unfortunately, but quite intentionally, this set a precedent for how Black women's bodies would be used for years to come. What's more, these legal codifications were often justified using religious arguments. Many Christians often equated darkness or blackness with sin. Several biblical passages serve as the backbone for the negative and superior attitudes that Europeans had toward Africans. They were described as savages, incapable of governing themselves. And as such, they needed white rule in order for Christ to accept them. The essence of this argument was that God intended for white men to rule over Black men. Religious doctrine would continue to be used by many over the course of centuries in order to justify the forced labor, subjugation, and violence Black people experienced at the hands of their enslavers. Understanding the conditions and development of slave societies in America is crucial to recognizing the racial and economic disparities that have long persisted through U.S. history. Grounding ourselves in the origins of how captured Africans arrived in what would eventually become the United States provides us with an important opportunity to explore how the relationship between race, servitude, and bondage evolved over time. The institution of slavery developed and changed over the course of decades, becoming increasingly codified in law and more central to the economic infrastructure of certain regions in the young colony. Reviewing the court cases of early Africans in the Americas provides an outlook on the specific rights and liberties denied to Africans compared to the landowning white men who had a voice in the early colonial society. As we dive deeper into Black American history, we will see just how vulnerable to exploitation and manipulation someone can be when the law does not see them as a full person. The implications of who is and is not seen by the law as fully human will have wide-reaching implications as we move forward through American history. There's a long way to go and a lot more to try to make sense of. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Crash Course is made with the help of all these.
All right, family. So that is a crash course, and that is something that you could show your children. He has a whole series of stuff. I must say, I feel like if we attempt to skip over slavery, it's going to be a mess for us, because all the things that are happening to us now is because we must revisit that time so we can understand what this fight is all about. But every time I watch Crash Course, I take notes. I look at where we are right now when he talks about social systems and castes and stuff like that. That's something that I deal with every day. The hierarchy, the caste system in Black culture. I deal with that a lot. And that's a hard conversation to have. I think that's one of the reasons why I'm not really big on politicians, because I think they're a part of a caste system. And they're not very helpful. So anyway, family, I'm about to check out of here. Thank y'all for lending me your ear. Thank you for all your comments. I just feel like, y'all, it is up to us to teach ourselves. It's up to us to be responsible. When I looked at that, our voices, I love that Bev kept saying, but what are we going to do? What is our response? And I'll be honest with you. I came from a people, I always tell people, One time I was in school and I had a racist white teacher. I will never forget this. And my protest is I wasn't going to do my work. And I guess the woman sent the letter home to my mom about me not doing work in class. And when I came home, my mom was like, like a couple of days later, she, asked me like, how's school? And if your mama asks you something out the blue, that really means she must know something. And so I said, I'm fine. And she said, are you sure? And then I was like, well, I got the racist teacher, whatever. And my mom was like, you cannot not do your work, Londa. Like, tell me about her, let me handle her. But that doesn't help you to not do your work. She was like, I don't care if it's Hitler teaching the class. You know what I'm saying? You got to do the part you're supposed to do. Let me handle her. And that was one of the first times I really remembered that it's up to me to be responsible for my own actions. I can't like fault what other people do. I only can be responsible for myself. It really starts with me. And on that, family, y'all have a good night. Peace, family.